What's good, my friends? This is the new and improved Offsides with Mark Ryan. We are the Fan Upstate Diesel as well, rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. Fantastic to have you guys with us. Could not do it without you. We appreciate it oh so very much. You guys can chime in on the Renewal by Anderson fan phone. That is 844-326-3663. And the text line is there for you at 71307. Just start your text with the word fan, and away you go on the show. Jam-packed on the show today are we. Whose seat is hotter between these two blokes? More likely to make the Sweet 16, a position change at Clemson. You have got to legalize one of these two things. We've got J.J. Hardy joining us on the Carolina Panthers. We've got to highlight a local athlete who has taken her team to the state championship game. That's coming up at 5:30 p.m. today. We've got either or, and we have you here on the most interactive sports radio show anywhere. All of that and so much more on the show today. Guys, how do we feel about Leap Day? How do we feel about that? You know, like it almost to me, and look, like I subscribe to what my dad has always told me: when you love what you do, you don't work a day of your life. But it just feels like, and I remember feeling this 4 years ago as well. I think we had leap year in 2020. It just felt like to me a day where you're doing a lot of work that doesn't really count. You know, like in the back of my head, it's like this day doesn't really count.
So what you're saying is we should be having a dance party right now instead of doing sports radio?
It feels something like that. These are like, does this count? Does this matter? That's what it feels like right now. Diesel's got the moves. You see that? He's got moves on top of
sprinkler.
Moves on top of moves. And you know, like I'm trying to understand, Diesel, the why behind this. Like, if it is in fact that like the rotation or whatever makes it so that you got to have 366 for the years to be whole, why aren't we getting 6 hours slower by the year? Because 4 years, one every four, there's 24 hours in a day. Why aren't we getting 6 hours slower every year? I don't get that. But apparently you do this leap year once every 4 years, and it's like today doesn't even count. And I'm just kind of trying to make sense of it all. Like, what would you say we do here today? What would you say this is? We got hit with this day in 2020. We're getting hit with this day in 2024. I've always wondered if people born on a leap year day are like that song, Forever Young.
There's a cruise of people born on leap day to go out and just party with other people who were born on leap day. Yeah. It was almost our best thing we heard today, but I got something better than that.
How about that? How do we feel about this day, ladies and gentlemen? This really weird, odd leap day. Can anyone explain, anyone smarter than us, explain the science of this to us? You know, for example, you know, if we need it every 4 years, why aren't we like 6 hours behind at the end of every year? I don't understand like why it's not suddenly light at 3 a.m., you know, if we're getting like 6 hours behind. I don't understand it. But it works out. The math works out. We keep our days. We keep our nights. You just throw this extra day in there every 4 years. Cool. Cool by me, I guess. It's weird. Love what I do. But it just feels like today didn't really happen. You know, doesn't it? Am I the only one who feels that way? Let me know. 844-326-3663 is the Renewal by Anderson fan phone. And you can hit us on the text line at 71307. Just start your text with the word fan and away you go.
Are you familiar with the movie The Purge?
Oh, yeah.
What if we had a thing where every leap day, one currently illegal thing becomes legal?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would we want that to be? We got a lot of stoners in the audience who would probably say, you can make weed legal for a day. Once every 4 years, just completely legal. It doesn't mean you can drink it, you can smoke and drive, but it means, you know what? Go downtown, light up a J, have yourself a good time. You can't do it again for 4 years. You know? What if we could make one thing legal on Leap Day? What would it be?
Oh, well, Diesel, I'm so glad you asked, because today at 4:00 p.m. exactly, in honor of Leap Day, we have that very thing, that very topic.
Interesting.
Diesel and I always talk about the fact that we've worked together so often that our brains start thinking alike.
The mind meld.
And that is exactly what is going on. I wish Diesel, I'm going to start suing Diesel for idea theft, because he is literally in my brain. I'm told that in this country, you can sue for somebody stealing your thunder. And that is happening on the regular over here.
Well, then I've got a backlog of grievances against you.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. But Diesel, what did you just say? Look at the rundown here. You just said, without prompting, right? You and I, can you confirm we have not discussed this?
No, we have not.
Okay. So you said in honor of Leap Day.
Yeah.
What do you want to legalize? And what does it say at 4 p.m. today?
Gambling or weed?
What, legalize one?
Yeah.
In honor of Leap Day.
Yeah.
Stop doing that. Can you please?
How did that happen?
Can you please?
How did that happen?
This is like becoming like an Inception, guy behind the guy behind the guy, dream within a dream within a dream type of thing. I'm like, man, what's something fun we can do on Leap Day? Because today doesn't really count. Evidently, you can say anything you want today, and it doesn't really count.
What if you could tell your boss off on Leap Day?
It doesn't really count.
It didn't happen.
It doesn't really count. Ladies and gentlemen, I hereby declare on Offsides today that you all have a hall pass, not from your wife, okay? Not from your significant other, okay? But you have a hall pass.
Unless she's into that sort of thing.
To say whatever you want that will not get us fired, okay? You have a hall pass. No judgment. No judgment. From you, for me, for Diesel, for all, say whatever you want, okay? If you're a Clemson fan, you're over Dabo Sweeney, you can say whatever you want, and it doesn't count against you, because today does not count. Today does not count. Diesel, if you could go back in your sports watching life and put a sports event on leap year that you wish didn't count.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I know exactly.
Today doesn't count. So you're going to throw an event that happened in sports on leap day, okay? Because you don't want it to count. We're going to get rid of it. You get a get out of jail free card today. You get a hall pass today. You can say something nasty about me. Well, that would just make it every other day, okay? Just make it every other day here. And because today doesn't count, neither do any of your actions. Do you guys remember in the movie Groundhog Day where Bill Murray, Phil Connors, realizes that there's no consequences for any of his actions? Like the first week or two, he's in a panic. He's in an absolute panic. Then he hits this fun mode where it's just like, I can do whatever I want. 12 donuts in one sitting, asking out the hottest girl in town. There is nothing that can stop me.
Remember in School of Rock when the teacher says, say whatever you want, and the little gay kid says, you're tacky and I hate you.
That's
it just comes out of nowhere.
Oh,
you're tacky and I hate you.
Diesel, what's your sports event to erase?
Oh, easy. It would be the year, I believe it was 2021. App State had a perfect season other than losing to Georgia Southern on Halloween night. We were apparently, seemingly destined for a New Year's Six berth that season. App State was the highest ranked Group of 5 team at the time, and we lost to our dreaded rivals on Halloween night.
That's awful.
Yeah.
So Diesel is hereby putting this on Leap Day. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
It's like the space-time version of Las Vegas. Like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happens on Leap Day stays on Leap Day. It doesn't happen outside of Leap Day. It doesn't exist.
What would you do today if there were no consequences for what you would say? If today didn't really exist, if today didn't really happen, what would you do? We'll allow you to live that fantasy with us here over the next 3 hours and 50 minutes on Offsides today. 844-326-3663 is the number to get to us on the show.
That means you on the YouTube stream as well. Those of you already watching, jump in the comment section.
Jump on in. We'd love to have you. And we are also, as Diesel said, on YouTube right now. The Fan Upstate on YouTube, you will see that I am rocking my Greenville Triumph hoodie right now, and feeling great about it for all to see.
I love those bright green pull strings, and those pop.
The strings make it. You
Right?
got to have the strings, man. Got to have the strings. Big thanks to the Greenville Triumph for making this all possible.
If you're going to rip off anybody's color scheme, make it the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, yeah.
They ripped off the color scheme, and it looks fantastic.
Well, I never put that connection together before.
Yeah.
You're
the blue,
right.
the bright
You're
green.
Right. They got the blue and the bright green. They got it. They just need you guys to show up as the 12th man. That's all they need. Guys, yesterday on the show, I went through our warm seat rankings. Okay. So warmest from coolest seats among the 7 coaches to the warmest seats among the 7 coaches, major coaches, Clemson and South Carolina. All right. Without further ado, okay, and I did share this with you yesterday, but coolest seat is Dawn Staley. Second coolest is Lamont Paris. Third coolest is Eric Bakich. Fourth is Dabo Sweeney. Fifth, I had Shane Beamer. 6, Mark Kingston. And 7, Brad Brownell. Now, meaning Brad Brownell still has the hottest seat, despite the fact that Clemson is having a very, very good basketball season. It's just been too much mediocre, way too much mediocre mixed in. Chris Phillips chimed in today, and I said to him, he goes, man, that is a great question, because I said to him, Beamer or Mark Kingston, who's got a hotter seat in South Carolina between those two? And he said, great question. He would say Mark Kingston's seat is warmer than Shane Beamer, because the expectations for Clemson basketball are for Clemson basketball. Expectations for Gamecock baseball are far higher than they are for Gamecock football. Far higher expectations. If I said to you guys today, okay, look, Gamecock football did not make the equivalent of a super regional last year. Okay, they didn't make the final 16. Gamecock baseball did. Who's got a hotter seat, Beamer or Mark Kingston? And did Chris nail it? You know, Mark Kingston has outperformed Shane Beamer. Shane Beamer has never had a final 16 finish as head coach at South Carolina. Never gotten that far, never finished right there. Okay? But is it just because the expectations are much higher for Mark Kingston? Chris Phillips added to me, he says, Mark, if they don't go to the Omaha this year, there will be fans wanting him gone. Unrealistic expectations exist not only at South Carolina, my friends, they exist in a lot of different places. I know there's going to be Clemson fans who are bristling at Dabo not being number 1 on the coolest seat list. But guys, if you are a Clemson fan, I'd ask you, who has less job pressure right now? Eric Bakich or Dabo Sweeney? It's Eric Bakich. Who's got less job pressure than that? Lamont Paris. Who is universally doing a knockdown, drag-out job, an A+++? Dawn Staley, right? If you ask the fan base for all these schools what grade they have for their team's recent performance, Dawn Staley, Gamecock fans would say A+. Lamont Paris, Gamecock fans would say A. Eric Bakich, Clemson fans would say A-. Dabo Sweeney, I think if you're honest, you'd say B or C. Shane Beamer, you might say C+. Mark Kingston, you might say C. Brad Brownell is in the process of trying to fool you into believing that he is the guy long term, but he has a chance to do just that. I need to see a Sweet 16 from him for that to happen. Spur Daddy chimes in. He says all Gamecock fans are jealous as hell of Clemson and act like a bunch of babies about it. Stop. Again, Gamecock fans, his name is Spur Daddy. He's one of you. Texter says, no consequences. There's about a dozen people that better knuckle up because Mongo is about to whoop that ass if there are no consequences today. Guys, I am of the belief that today does not really exist. And if today does not really exist, okay, then we are here to have a very casual, very fun, very wipe the slate clean kind of day. Diesel gave you his example of the sports event that he wishes was on leap year, so it doesn't really exist. What is yours?
Pongo, Bongo, I can't remember his name.
You can make any event in sports a leap year event. It's just way too painful. What is that for you, my friends? We are off and running on a Friday Eve edition of the show. It is Offsides, Mark Ryan and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. It's Offsides, Mark Ryan and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate, rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. Awesome to have you guys with us. It is a get-out-of-jail-free card. Nothing you say really matters because we're convinced leap year does not count. If you've got a leap year baby who would normally be 32, she's actually just 8 years old. I'm now of the age where it's cooler to be younger than you actually are. This is awesome.
So 2020 was a leap year. Obviously, some bad stuff went down globally in 2020. That means 2016 was a leap year. That was the year that we started having all these famous rock stars dying off. Like a ton of famous rock stars died in 2016. Now it's got me thinking something weird is going to happen this year. And I'm terrified of it now.
Yeah.
It's like, man, we still got 10 months to go. How many bad things could happen?
Oh, that's right. 2 months, Diesel, are gone.
Yeah.
When we're done today, 2 months have finished. Ladies and gentlemen, how have the first 2 months of your year been this year? How have they gone? Mine have been insanely eventful. Insanely eventful. Okay, just way too much activity going on in way too short a period of time. Okay, I have had exactly, let's see here, 31 plus 29 days in February, 60 days of 2024. I have not had one quote unquote normal day since. Not a single normal day. I think New Year's Day was the most normal. We had the college football playoff that day. It's been fast and furious since then. Texter says, funny how it seems to land an election year.
No, that's the way it's scheduled. It's not funny when leap year is every 4 years and it always is an election year. That's not funny. That's just scheduling.
Yeah, you know what, Diesel? Like I'm typically anti conspiracy theory guy. I will say they want the extra day to be on the election year. I will say that, but that is most certainly the case. Guys, can I ask your advice on something? So I tend to be politically in the middle. Okay, like as honest, open and honest as I can be. I tend to be politically in the middle. I'll give you an example. In terms of healthcare, I lean left because I believe we had a situation where someone got really sick in our family, couldn't get healthcare. I believe everyone should have healthcare. I believe we all should pay into a system that gets all of us healthcare. Okay, like we're Americans. Everybody should have healthcare. We live in the greatest country on earth, right? That we invest $1 trillion in wars, and then we have 50 million Americans with no health care. I need someone to explain that to me, okay? If my rates go up because your kid can get covered now, great. Happy to pay more. Happy to pay more because your kid can get covered, okay? Like, to me, that's what it means to be an American. On the flip side of things, I tend to be more right-leaning on certain issues like, people coming into the country illegally, okay? Like people flooding over our borders, like that to me just can't happen. Just absolutely cannot happen. So I share this with you to say that I tend to be more middle ground, okay? I'm not going to say who, and I'm not going to say what, and I'm not going to say how this is going to go, okay? But I do want to let you know, I want to ask you guys, how do you guys navigate an election year? How do you do it in your family? Because on one side of the family, okay, on being totally honest with you, on one side of the family, very, very, very pro Joe Biden. Okay. On the other side of the family, very, 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 very pro Donald Trump. These people, up until this point, like each other. Okay. They like each other. They don't talk about that thing, but they otherwise get along. They like each other. Like Angela and I, like if one is like Tea Party conservative, like the most conservative person you have, and if 10 is like the most raging liberal you've ever seen, like Angela and I are like a 4, 5, or 6. You know what I mean? Like if 5 is dead in the middle, I might be a 5 or a 6. She might be a 4 or a 5. We're pretty close to being at the exact same things. But the elder statesmen in our family, Diesel, are not 4s, 5s, and 6s. They are 1s and 2s. They are 9s and 10s. And I'm just curious, in this of all years, how do you keep the peace? How do you keep the peace? What do you do?
I think people should treat their political beliefs the way they treat their sexual proclivities. Just keep it to yourself. Whatever you're into, keep it to yourself.
See, nobody does that, though.
I know, but that's the problem.
No, nobody does that.
That's the problem.
Everybody flexes.
We've all made our political opinions our personalities. It used to be an element of our personalities. People have turned it into their entire personalities. And then that makes people fight, and that makes people miserable.
We have. How do you guys have families with people on opposite sides of the aisle? How do you navigate that this time of year? Like what's your go-to? How do you get through that? I get the sense that like Angela and I might actually be the ones playing peacemaker here. I get the sense that might actually be the case. But what say you guys about that? 844-326-3663 is the number to get to us on the show this afternoon. Guys, I was looking at this today, and I was taking note of the fact that the SEC now has 16 teams. And every time I see that, I mean, I know the number. I'm well aware of the additions. I'm well aware of what it means. I'm also well aware that this is a big part of the reason why the SEC wants to expand the college football playoff to 14 teams. They want guarantees because the records in this league are about to suck. There's going to be a bunch of 9-3, 8-4, 7-5, really good football teams in the SEC. The SEC is now like, in my opinion, a mini NFL. And I was thinking about this, right? I was thinking about, okay, well, how does this lay out this one year, this individual year? I'm sure this is going to come as a surprise to none of you, but I do think Florida is going to be better than what people think. I think the quarterback situation is ideal. You've got the Gatorade National Player of the Year at quarterback, DJ Lagway. You have the senior starter, Graham Mertz. You've got improved defensive depth and talent around them. You've just got the hardest schedule that anybody's ever seen in the history of college football. The Gators have nine top 25 opponents on the schedule in their 12 games. But I was thinking, my friends, I would like to go through these one by one and give you my SEC power rankings and also give you kind of an over-under for each team. Okay, so I have my 1 through 16. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. This is what I project these teams to be this year. And I'm curious how you guys feel. No hate, nothing but love, nothing but keeping it a buck. Here we go. Vanderbilt, Diesel, has an over or under of 2.5 wins. 2.5 wins. That's not going to get it done for anybody.
Vanderbilt, just be the team that schedules 4 FCS schools. Like, it doesn't matter. You're not getting to a bowl game anyway. So schedule the 4 easy wins, right? Or schedule 4 bottom of the barrel G5 schools. Like, who's the worst school in the MAC? Schedule them.
With one exception, Diesel, they did that. Alcorn State, Georgia State, Ball State, bunch of states, and Virginia Tech, which Virginia Tech should be a winnable game. It's at Vanderbilt. Should be a winnable game for Vanderbilt.
True or false, there is a Virginia State University.
This seems like a trick question, Diesel, but I'm going to go false.
Is true.
There
is a Virginia State. It is a historically HBCU.
Okay.
And it is in Petersburg, Virginia. 1 Hayden Street, Petersburg, Virginia. I didn't know that. You know, for the longest time, I didn't know there was a South Carolina State either.
Really?
I didn't know that.
Huh.
Until I was probably 25 years old when I found out there was an SC State. Just didn't know.
It's right here for you. So over or under 2.5 wins for Vanderbilt. And we've got, as I said, in the SEC, you've got at Missouri. You've got Alabama at a home game for Vandy. You got Kentucky on the road. You got Texas. Oh, gosh. You got Auburn at Auburn. South Carolina's a home game. You got at LSU. Good luck. And you got a home game against Tennessee, which is really a home game for Tennessee. Diesel, I'm going over 2.5 wins for Vanderbilt. I just need them to be better than Alcorn State, Georgia State, or Ball State. They could even lose one of those 3 games and just win.
He's going to have to fix everything. Del McGee is going to bring some of that Georgia special sauce with him, and he's going to beat Vanderbilt. I'm calling it now.
Wow. Texter says, if you work for a living, you vote for whoever promises to take the least amount of money out of your paycheck. Keep it simple. The rest doesn't affect us much at all. Texter says, the weather is a more suitable dinner table topic. Let's see here. Texter says, my raging lib sister is unbearable, unfollowed, and blocked her. She is family, Texter. She is family. Please do not do that. Spur Daddy says, Mark, just be like me. I've decided to sit out politics from now on. I'm fed up with both sides. So says Spur Daddy. Texter says, I treat political talk like I treat the Gamecocks NIL. I don't contribute. Very, very good, Texter. Very good analogy. Or like you treat political talk like Dabo treats the transfer portal. He doesn't participate. Doesn't participate. There you go. Diesel, my 15th place team, Mississippi State. Mississippi State has an over-under of 4.5 wins this year. So you're like, 4.5 wins. Where are they going to come from? They've got Arizona State on the road. They've got, let's see here, Eastern Kentucky, Toledo, and UMass. That should be 3 wins, okay? They are all in Starkville. Eastern Kentucky, Toledo, and UMass. So I'm starting them out with 3. Do they have Vanderbilt on the schedule? They do not. Oh, boy. Arizona State at Arizona State, 50-50, less than 50-50. What other home games do they have? They got Florida at home. Ugh, that hurts. They've got Arkansas at home. There could be 4 wins. I'm going under 4.5 wins for Mississippi State, Diesel. I'm going under. I've got the schedule grid pulled up right now. I'm going under. By the way, Diesel, I'm going to send you the schedule grid here for this. I'm going under 4.5 wins. I don't see enough that I feel confident about.
Do we know that anything special has happened at Arizona State over the offseason?
No.
I mean, they were 3-9 last year. They were a bad football team. That Arizona State feels like a school to me. If they figured it out, if they got it right, that would be an electric fan base and an electric team to follow, because they got the cool looking uniforms, they got the great mascot. They're in Tempe. They've got this fantastic fan base. They say it's one of the most trustworthy fan bases in the country. So if they were good, and for a while, every now and again they'll pop up, not as much as like Oregon State does. But every now and again, they'll pop up and they'll be okay. But, man, that would be a fun school to root for if they got good.
We've got number 13, Diesel. I'm going Arkansas. Arkansas, number 13. Sam Pittman, to me, is dead man walking. The over-under for Arkansas is 5.5 wins. So you're like, how do they get to 6? They have something called UAPB, which is University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. They have Oklahoma State on the road. That's probably a loss. UAB, remember, you're trying to find 6 wins. Okay? You have Louisiana Tech. That should be a win. So I've got wins over UAPB, UAB, and Louisiana Tech on the schedule. I need 3 more wins. Am I going to get one at Oklahoma State? Am I going to get one in Jerry Jones Ego Stadium against Texas A&M? Am I going to get one against Tennessee, LSU? I could get one against Mississippi State. There's 4. But then I've got Ole Miss, Texas, and Missouri. I've got Arkansas under 5.5 wins. I think that 5.5 seems to be way too high for this seat. So we've got Arkansas number 14. Next up, number 13 team in the SEC for me this year, the South Carolina Gamecocks. By the way, before you call me a hater, I'm looking at a different power poll for the SEC right now that has the Gamecocks 12th. I am going number 13. The over-under for the Gamecocks is 5.5 wins. So you got to get to 6 wins. Where are the 6 wins coming? Here you go. Old Dominion at home, check. Akron at home, check. Vanderbilt at home, check. Wofford at home, check. You need 2 more wins. Where are they? At Kentucky, Beamers won the last 2 against Kentucky. I'll go there's 1, okay? But LSU is a no to me. Ole Miss is a no to me. Alabama on the road, Oklahoma on the road, hell no to me. A&M at home could be, but South Carolina never plays well in that game. Missouri has turned the corner. Then you've got Clemson. Florida's not on the schedule this year. I think that's a crime. I'm going to go South Carolina Diesel under 5.5 wins. I'm going to go 5-7 for the Gamecocks, explaining why I've got them number 13 in my SEC power poll right now.
After another 5-7 season, are we legitimately looking at pulling the trigger on Shane Beamer, pulling the rug out from under him? I mean, that would show a coach who had multiple blue chip ratio classes in a row and still couldn't win 6 games.
Absolutely.
That to me would tell me a huge problem with coaching. At that point, it has nothing to do with your ability to get good players in Columbia. You would have shown that you can do that. You would have shown you don't have the right guy to coach them up.
So we've got Vanderbilt over. We've got Mississippi State under. We've got Arkansas over. We've got South Carolina under. Okay? That is where we are thus far. Number 12 for me. This is the year they take a step back. I'm going Kentucky, number 12. Kentucky, the over or under is 6.5 wins. 6.5 wins for the Wildcats. That's about what they are now, year in and year out. I think Mark Stoops should have cast this job in for a better job a little while ago. So you're saying, okay, to hit the over, how do you get to 7 wins? Southern Miss at home is a win. South Carolina at home needs to be a win, but we're saying it's not going to be. Georgia, they've got Ohio at home. That's win number 2. Vanderbilt at home. That's win number 3. They got Florida, but they get Florida in Gainesville. I lean Gators in that one. They get Auburn at home. I will say that is win number 4. Murray State at home. That's win number 5. Louisville at home. I'm going to say that's win number 6. Diesel, I cannot find a 7th win on this schedule. I see Georgia. I see Ole Miss. I see Florida on the road. I see Tennessee. I see Texas. I see problems. This dude, these guys signed, all these schools signed up for this.
Yeah.
They signed up for this crap schedule.
$50 million plus a year to get your ass kicked and have a 5-7 to 7-5 season.
Make it make sense, man.
Winning is fun. Winning is fun. Nobody will ever leave that conference to win more games, but I'm telling you, winning is fun.
Number 11 for me in the SEC, I'm going Auburn. I'm going Auburn number 11. The over-under for Auburn, year 2 of Hugh Freeze, is 7.5 wins. That feels a little bit ambitious to me. Here is the schedule. Alabama A&M is a win. California is a win. New Mexico is a win. Arkansas is a win. They start out 4-0. Then they get Oklahoma at Auburn. I think that's the first loss. followed by Georgia is a loss. Missouri is a loss, and Columbia. I've got 4-3. Lexington on the road in Kentucky. I think that's a loss. 4-4. They're going to beat Vanderbilt. That's 5 wins. They're going to beat UL Monroe. That's 6 wins. Then they've got Texas A&M and they've got Alabama. Do you see Auburn getting to 8 wins this year? I just don't see it, guys. I'm sorry. I'm going Auburn under 7.5 wins. My number 10 team in the SEC this year, this is where I have my Florida Gators. This is where I've got them number 10. On the list I'm looking at, they say Florida 14th. Is it that Florida's that bad, or is it that the schedule is that difficult? Which is it? Because I'm telling you, Florida as a football team is not that bad. They get Miami and Gainesville to start the year. Florida's going to be favored in that game, followed by Samford in Gainesville. Florida starts 2-0. They get A&M in Gainesville as well. That is a 50-50 game. Then they get Mississippi State on the road. Florida should win that game. After that, they get Central Florida, now in the Big 12, in Gainesville. Guys, it's not out of the realm of possibility Florida starts 5-0. Then the wheels come off, right? You get Tennessee and Knoxville. You get Kentucky, which is a winnable game. You get Georgia. These final 5 games, like, who at Florida agreed to this? Diesel, Florida ends the season, no bye weeks, okay? Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State. Who the hell agreed to that?
It's a good thing one of your school colors is blue because it'll hide the bruising.
It will. But I'm going Florida over 5.5 wins. I think Florida has a chance here, 3, 4, 5, to start 5-0 and to have 6 wins in their first 7 games. I think there's a chance, there's an outside shot that we can happen. So you're saying there's a chance. Then last one before we get to break, we've got Texas A&M. A&M, the over-under there is 8.5 wins. I've got A&M as the 9th-ranked team in the SEC right now, 8.5 wins. You're saying 9-3 for Mike Elko's debut. Let's look at the schedule real quick. What do we see over or under for Mike Elko? They got Notre Dame to start the year. They're not ready for Notre Dame. They get McNeese State next. That's a win. They get Florida in Gainesville. That's on the road. They get Bowling Green. That's win number 2. They get Arkansas. They always beat Arkansas. That's win number 3. They get Missouri at home. Eli Drinkwitz, I think, has built something that Mike Elko is not ready for. I still got 3 wins. Mississippi State at home is a win. That's 4. South Carolina should be a win. That's 5. New Mexico State is a win. That's 6. You got Texas and College Station. You got Auburn at Auburn. 7 max. But this over-under is 8.5 for the Aggies. I am easily under that. All right, we are going through our power rankings in the SEC for you, and we're hitting you with our over-unders. SEC Slate 2024. Having a blast with you here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. MARC RYAN and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. SEC Power Rankings time, 16 teams. We've got Vanderbilt 16, Mississippi State 15, Arkansas 14, Gamecocks 13th, Kentucky 12th, Auburn 11th, Florida 10th, A&M 9th. Top 8 now, top half of the SEC. I'm going Missouri is number 8. Look, I realize that might seem like a diss given what Eli Drinkwitz has done with this team lately, but consider who's in the top half of the SEC right now. Missouri's over-under for this year is 9.5 wins. They're going to get 10 wins in this SEC. Well, it helps when you look at their non-conference schedule. They got Murray State. They got Buffalo. You might as well say you got the Sisters of the Poor and the Island of Misfit Toys. All right? You have got UMass and Boston College. Give me a break. Diesel, They open with Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, and Vanderbilt. In today's SEC, you should get kicked out of the SEC for that. They go to College Station, which could be a loss, but then they come right back for UMass. Then they get Auburn at home. So I see Missouri 5, 6, 7. I see Missouri starting 6-1. Can they finish 10-2? They get Alabama in Tuscaloosa. That's a loss. They get Oklahoma in Columbia, Missouri. I'll say that's a win. So I've got 7 wins with 3 games left. South Carolina in Columbia, I think that's a win. Mississippi State in Starkville, I think that's a win. And Arkansas. Oh, my gosh, Diesel. They have got the easiest schedule I have ever seen. Like for a team that plays in the modern era SEC, their SEC slate features A&M, big deal, Auburn at home, Oklahoma, which is a good team but at home, Gamecocks, big deal, Mississippi State, big whoop, Arkansas, please, child, please. I'm going Missouri over the 9.5 projected win total, but it's not because they're great, okay? It's because the schedule is an out-and-out joke.
Well, look, doing that schedule the way they've done it is no different than what coaches all over college basketball this year have been accusing the Big 12 of doing, which is stacking the deck, playing absolutely nobody, playing a garbage out of conference schedule so that you get up to a 10, 12, 14-0 schedule before you get into the Big 12. Everybody is high up in the net because everybody's been destroying everybody they've played out of conference. And then you lose to somebody who's up there with you, you don't fall very far. I mean, that's what we're seeing with that schedule right there.
And Brad Brownell was complaining about that earlier. And he said, look, man, like we're not as good as the Big 12 if you look at the net ranking, but our conference is actually 9-3 against the Big 12. I'll go number 7 in the SEC next year is Tennessee. Number 7, Tennessee. Tennessee's over-under is 9.5 wins. So you're asking, do they have the schedule that Missouri does? The answer is no, they don't. Chattanooga, they open with, there's a win. Then they get NC State and Charlotte, win. Kent State, win. At Oklahoma, that's not a win, that's a loss, 3-1. They get Arkansas on the road, that's a win. They get Florida at home, that's a win. Now you're 5-1. But you get Alabama at home. I don't care if Kalen DeBoer, not Nick Saban, is the coach. That's a loss, 5-2. Kentucky in Knoxville, that's a win, 6-2. Mississippi State in Knoxville, that's a win, 7-2. But then you get Georgia, that's a loss, 7-3. UTEP and Vanderbilt, very manageable schedule. But the over-under is 9.5 wins. There's 3 losses on that schedule somewhere. Give me 9-3 for Tennessee. We've got Oklahoma. I've got Oklahoma as my number 6 team in the SEC coming up for this year. That is far higher than other power rankings that I've seen. This site, AZ Central, says Oklahoma is their number 10. The Sooners under Brent Venables are my number 6. The over-under for them is 7.5 wins. What do we see? Does Oklahoma get above 7.5 dubs this year? I say yes. They get Temple and Norman, that's a win. Houston and Norman, win. Tulane and Norman, win. Tennessee and Norman, win. They get Auburn at Auburn, that's a tough one, but let's say 4-1 through the first 5 games. They get Texas in Dallas, that's a likely loss, 4-2. South Carolina is a win. You get them at home, that's 5-2. Ole Miss on the road is a likely loss, that's 5-3. Then they get Maine, win, Maine. They play Maine, 6-3. Missouri and Columbia, loss, 6-4. Then you got 2 real toughies to end the year. You've got Alabama and you've got LSU. It's going to be tough to win either of those. See, I think these teams are being penalized for the schedule. The schedule doesn't dictate what kind of team you are, okay, with these schedules this year. I'm going to go Texas number 5 in my SEC power rankings. The over-under for the Texas Longhorns this year is 10.5 wins. They're going to lose 1 game this year to hit the over? Really? Let us see. Texas opens with Colorado State, then Michigan and Ann Arbor. Good luck. No more Jim Harbaugh. Sharon Moore takes over, but good luck. Then they get UTSA, then they get UL Monroe. I think Texas is 3-1. Then they're at Mississippi State is an easy win. Oklahoma and Dallas is not an easy win, but a probable win. You're 5-1 at the halfway mark. Georgia is a loss. Vanderbilt is a win. You now have 4 games to go, and you're 6-2. Some tricky ones here. You get Florida, should be a win, 7-2. Arkansas should be a win, 8-2. Kentucky at home, 9-2. But then you're at A&M. You're at A&M in College Station. I'll say that's a loss. I go Texas finishes 9-3, which leads us to our top 4 teams in the SEC next year, and we're going to give those to you when Offsides continues, plus the over-unders right after this here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, we are the Fan Upstate. What's good, my friends? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate, rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. Thrilled to have you guys with us. Could not do it without you, my friends. Truly do appreciate you making us part of your day each and every day. You can hit us on the Renewal by Anderson fan phone at 844-326-3663. And on the text line, 71307. Just start your text with the word fan, and away you go on the show. We have been hitting you with our SEC Power Poll, never too early, never too late. And we have taken you from 16 all the way to number 4, which is where we hit today. My opinion, that spot belongs to none other than Ole Miss. Ole Miss, I've got number 4, just ahead of Texas. Love what Lane Kiffin has done with the place. Over under for Ole Miss, 9.5 wins. Let's see if they conceded. Oh, dear God, Diesel. Did you realize this? Furman's got Ole Miss this year. Furman opens with Ole Miss. Hey, Lane, be ready, buddy.
Rebels better watch out.
Be ready. Be ready. Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, and Georgia Southern. Oh, this is what they did. Ole Miss is doing the Rutgers scheduling strategy. Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, and Georgia Southern. Really?
You're not even scheduling a Georgia Southern that runs the triple option. That may throw something weird at you.
Lane, you should be ashamed of yourself for this, man. I mean, you guys, you're scheduling as though you are one of the Sisters of the Poor. You have elevated the program above and beyond this.
Clay Helton is doing good things at Georgia Southern, getting them out of that antiquated offense.
Yeah.
But it's not there yet.
Yeah, Dave Clawson has they're kind of meddling. Middle Tennessee, Furman. Furman might be the most difficult of the first 4 games, Diesel. Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, and Georgia Southern. I'll take Furman over those 3. Then you get Kentucky at home and South Carolina on the road. Ole Miss begins the year 6-0. All right, LSU and Baton Rouge is a loss. Oklahoma and Oxford, it's in Mississippi, is probably a win. So you're at 7-1. Then you've got Arkansas and Fayetteville. That should be a win. Now you're 8-1. 8-1. Georgia anywhere is a loss. Ole Miss falls to 8-2. Then Ole Miss has games against Florida and at home against Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. What do you guys think? I mean, can Florida beat Mississippi in Gainesville in a game that is played in Gainesville? That determines whether Ole Miss hits the over or the under. That game, Ole Miss at Florida. I'll be fair. I'll be realistic. I think Ole Miss is the better team. Okay. I think they get that dub, especially because Florida is in the midst of the most difficult 5-game stretch that college football's ever seen. Florida's got Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State back-to-back games. That Ole Miss game is the 4th game in that 5-game stretch. I'll say Ole Miss hits the over. They are number 4. Number 3 team in the SEC for me, I'm going LSU. Over under for the Tigers this year, also 9.5 wins. Let's see if they can do it. They get Southern Cal in Las Vegas on September 1st, but no Caleb Williams. That's a win for the SEC, my opinion. Nicholls State, come on. South Carolina, come on. UCLA in Baton Rouge, no more Chip Kelly. Come on. South Alabama, Baton Rouge, child please. 5-0, easy start for LSU. Ole Miss in Baton Rouge is a tricky one, but it's at home. You lean Tigers there, right? Ole Miss at LSU, especially when you consider the revenge factor. Ole Miss clipped LSU. What was the score? 56-54, 54-52 late last year. I like LSU revenge factor at home. I've got now LSU 6 games halfway through their season, 6-0. They've got Arkansas in Fayetteville. Tricky, but a win. They've got Texas A&M and College Station on the road. I'm going to say that's loss number 1. Alabama anywhere is loss number 2. Florida in Gainesville should be a win. That is 8-2 with 2 games remaining. Then they got Vanderbilt at home, Oklahoma at home. Home games, Death Valley, that matters. LSU's over-under is 9.5 wins. I will take the over. I will go 10-2 for LSU, which means number 2 and number 1. And this is interesting. My number 2 is a team that many I've seen drop in the SEC rankings. I don't fully understand the why here. I don't get it. I do not get it. Alabama, many sites I've looked at have them outside the top 5 in the SEC. Nick Saban is the greatest coach of all time. Kalen DeBoer is a fantastic lead man. Nick Saban has the cupboard essentially full, despite the transfer portal defections. All right? Then you consider Alabama. Over-under for Alabama, 9.5 wins. Can you really see Alabama with Kalen DeBoer not winning double-digit games? Let's check the schedule, shall we? Western Kentucky, South Florida. Give me a break. Wisconsin on the road should be difficult. In Madison, best college town, Diesel, in the country. Madison, Wisconsin. But honestly, who are you picking there? Who are you picking? Luke Fickell in Wisconsin, Alabama and Kalen DeBoer. Alabama's athletes, Wisconsin's athletes. Who do you got?
I'm going to say, just for the sake of, they already got the continuity in place, I'm going to go Wisconsin in that game.
About that?
Just like you said, I mean, it's going to take a little time to get your feet under you. It's your first tough road game with the new school, Kalen DeBoer. I think maybe you go up there. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It's going to be a really good football game, but I could see Wisconsin winning this one by 7.
I'll go Alabama wins that one. Then they get Georgia. That's the first loss, September 28th. Okay, it doesn't matter that it's in Tuscaloosa to me. Vanderbilt and Nashville's an easy win. And then you have South Carolina. You get them at home. Okay, so I've got Alabama 5-1 through the first 6 games. Here's a tricky one. 2 tricky ones, actually. Tennessee and Knoxville, I'll say that's a loss, 5-2. Missouri in Tuscaloosa is a win. Oh, see, here's where it gets, Diesel, here's where it gets interesting. I was wrong. Alabama's under the 9.5. This is brutal. Outside of a Mercer sandwich, they have LSU, Oklahoma in Norman, and Auburn. Could Alabama really lose 4 games? Georgia, Tennessee, and Knoxville, Missouri, LSU, Oklahoma. Could they lose 4 out of those 5? How about that?
If Kalen DeBoer doesn't stack up, and let's face it, he won't stack up to what Alabama fans expect for Nick Saban's predecessor, how fast do you think Alabama would actually fire him?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
Jeez.
2 years.
Like we're paying you to come in and win instantly.
That is my guess. 2 years is what we're looking at here. 2 bloody years. He cannot. You can't be dropping single-digit wins if you're Kalen DeBoer after what Nick Saban did. And then, Diesel, I'll go Georgia number 1. Georgia, unnecessarily difficult schedule. You know, like you schedule Clemson years ago. They honor the commitment, okay? They play them again in Atlanta, played them a few years ago in Charlotte. Clemson, obviously, against Georgia. No offense, Clemson, but you've fallen off. You're about the number 16 team over the last 3 years. Georgia is the average number 1 over the last 3 seasons, okay? Average number 1, all of 1 loss, okay? So Georgia beats Clemson. Georgia beats Tennessee Tech, Kentucky. Alabama in Tuscaloosa is brutally difficult. But again, it's Georgia against a new coach. What other tricky games appear on the schedule right here for Georgia? Texas and Austin, very tricky. Ole Miss and Oxford, very tricky. You get Tennessee at home. There's some tricky games on this schedule. Clemson, Alabama on the road, Texas on the road, Ole Miss on the road. What is Georgia's over-under on the season? They say the over-under is 10.5 wins. Are there 2 losses on this slate for the Bulldogs? I am going to say no. Georgia goes 11-1. Georgia hits the over, and Georgia is your number 1 team in the SEC 2024. Agreements, my friends. Disagreements, my friends. Where do you come out? Where do you come out? 844-326-3663. If you've got a sports take on this, hit us on the text line at 71307. Just make sure you start your text with the word fan, and away you go on the show. 1 through 16 again: Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss, Texas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Missouri's my number 8. There's your halfway mark. Bottom half: number 9, Texas A&M, number 10, Florida, 11, Auburn, 12, Kentucky, 13, South Carolina, 14, Arkansas, 15, Mississippi State, and 16, Vanderbilt. My 1 through 16 rankings in the SEC this year. Agreements, disagreements, where do we stack up? What do you guys say? Would love and value your thoughts. Okay, let us switch to this. We have highlighted today that this is leap year. This is leap day. This day doesn't really exist. You know, you love what you do, but you do have this sense that this day doesn't really seem to count. You know, at least that's what it feels like to me. And we're giving you guys the chance, a get out of jail free card, to do and say whatever you'd like to say today. You can take shots at Diesel and I with no penalty, no consequence. So long as you don't actually get us fired, you get a get out of jail free card today. You get a hall pass, not on your wife, but you get a hall pass today. What would you like to chime in on? Well, with leap year as the backdrop here, okay? As the backdrop for today, you get another get out of jail free card. All right? It is fascinating to me that in this state, gambling is not legal. As far as I know, in this state, weed is not legal.
No, it's not.
So I'm going to give you guys the chance, and I would love for you right now in mass to respond via the text line, 71307. Just start your text with the word fan, and away you go. You can legalize one of the two, gambling or weed, okay? Legalize one of the two in the state of South Carolina. What is your choice? What is your decision? Why have you made this decision? Give us the answer. If you'd like, give us the reason. You can legalize gambling or weed. You know, Diesel, people always say, well, gambling in the state of South Carolina gambling is illegal. Gambling is illegal. So in any case, it's interesting to me that but it's still so easy to do, right? It's not illegal to gamble on an offshore site, regardless of where you are. You know, these are both things now, guys, gambling and marijuana, that have entered like it's illegal, but
there are
wink,
certain
wink.
types of sports betting that have not yet been heard by the South Carolina State House. Like, there are types of betting that have come about since the last laws were made, and they haven't made a law against it yet. So, like, anytime we bring it up, people say things like, what do they always say? DraftKings? No, they say some type of betting, like prop betting or something, is doable in South Carolina, and it's because state legislature hadn't met on it yet.
Yeah. So why? What's your answer, Diesel? What are you going with?
I'm gonna go with marijuana because I think it is a less destructive element. I mean, like, both are vices, right? Both are vices. I think marijuana is a less destructive vice than gambling. I mean, think about it this way. Have you ever heard a gambling spot on the radio that doesn't have a disclaimer that's longer than the commercial itself?
No.
That should tell you something, right? If they have to lead with, here's how we can help you quit gambling. But guys, gambling is so much fun. Like, imagine a beer commercial that starts, a 60-second beer commercial that starts with 30 seconds of, hey, if you find yourself drinking too much, becoming an alcoholic, here's how we can help you. Would it maybe change the way you look at alcohol? It certainly changes the way I look at online sports gambling, and it's fine if you want to do it. I got no problem with that if that's how you have fun. But it should say something to you that they start the commercial with, here's how to quit before you start. You know?
Diesel, I'm on the other side of the fence on you at this one. I would choose to legalize gambling before I would choose to legalize weed. Perhaps because, Diesel, I had an experience with weed that was unenviable. Okay, was not a fun experience. All right,
I've had one of those.
This was, and so like I didn't realize with how like everyone acts like it's no big deal that this thing could happen. And I've had people tell me that somebody put something else in what you had. Okay, but this was, gosh, I want to say 8 or 9 years ago, and the girl I was with at the time was a smoker. And so she said, hey, Mark, try it with me a couple times, whatever. And so I had it. And Diesel, I kid you not, the yellow lines in the middle of the road were moving. Okay. They were moving. They weren't actually moving. They were moving to me. Okay. Yeah. Then I got really, really paranoid, Diesel, really paranoid. And like I felt a level of out of whack, out of sorts that no alcoholic drink has ever done to me. Okay. It was not fun. I did not enjoy it. She kept telling me, just relax. I'm like, this sucks. Like, I don't know what's going on. I do not understand how the penalty for driving while intoxicated is more like, what is the law for drive? I mean, what it's driving.
It's illegal, but
yeah.
I don't know. And if we have any law enforcement in the audience, please help us out here. Give us some details on this.
Sure.
To my knowledge, there's not an administrable test that can accurately and quickly show you how much THC is in your system.
Right.
So it's like, you can blow into a breathalyzer. It can tell you how much alcohol is in your blood. And they can make a determination based off of that. If it's over 0.08 in this state, boom, you're over the limit, you're going to jail. It's that simple. But to my knowledge, there isn't a similar test that can be administered right there on the spot that can tell you the same thing for marijuana. Madcraft here says Shane Gillis did a skit. Yeah, Madcraft, I pulled that audio the other day. We didn't play it yet, but he says there was a skit on SNL this past week about gambling, about how you can gamble on when your gambling addicted friend is going to hit rock bottom. And this is a clip of that sketch.
The thrill of victory. The satisfaction of placing a bet and watching it hit big. The exhilaration of an upset only you saw coming.
With betting apps right on your phone, it's easier than ever to turn your passion for sports into cold, hard cash.
And with so many games to bet on, you almost can't lose. But there's a dark side as well.
We all know a friend who struggles with online gambling.
A friend who's on the verge of losing everything. His house, his family, his entire life.
And now you can bet on exactly how he'll lose.
Kings.
It's the only app that lets you take prop bets about how your
wrong,
degenerate
man.
gambler friend is finally going to hit rock bottom.
Will it be goes double or nothing on a random WNBA game?
Or bets his child's college fund on the coin toss?
And when your friend is desperate for cash, you can bet on what his lowest moments will be. Will he take out a life insurance policy on his own mother? Will he set up a fake GoFundMe that says he has leukemia? And what will he sell first? His PS5 or his kidney?
So wrong, man. So wrong. Absolutely so wrong, man. Not even. Oh, come on, man. Come on. Texter says, Mark, just because you had a bad time when you smoked doesn't mean I shouldn't be able to do it. Texter, I didn't know it was possible to get that absolutely crunked off of that stuff. I didn't know that was possible. Okay. I'm telling you, I was way more out of my element. And as a result of that, guess what? I've never done it again since then.
I get the vibe, Texter, that every member of the South Carolina state legislature that is vehemently against legalizing marijuana in this state also smoked one time and had that experience, and they say, okay, nobody can do this.
I mean,
Nobody can do this.
alcohol is far more gradual. Like this, 1 minute you're fine, Diesel. The next, there's 8 of you across from me. The yellow line in the middle of the road is moving. I don't know how that should be legal. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, but
So
if it's
anyway.
legal, it becomes regulated. You can buy it from a dispensary, and you know exactly what's in it.
So
You
the
know, you're
lines
not-
can move in the middle of the road for all these people.
If you're saying that somebody put something in it that wasn't supposed to be there, I'm saying that doesn't happen if you buy from a dispensary.
What do you guys say? You have a choice right now on leap year. Okay, on leap day. You can legalize one or the other in the state of South Carolina, gambling or ganja. Okay, ganja or gambling. What are you legalizing? Text us, call us, 71307, Renewal by Anderson fan phone, 844-326-3663. It's Offsides, Mark Ryan and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. Well, look at what we've got here, my friends. We've asked you in honor of Leap Day a get out of jail free card today because today doesn't really exist, does it? We've got an anonymous caller from Spartanburg or Duncan. We don't even know which one. And he wants to chime in on alcohol versus marijuana. That's not the question, Anonymous. The question is, which would you legalize in the state of South Carolina? You can legalize one, you can legalize gambling, or you can legalize ganja. Which are you legalizing?
I guess I'd legalize ganja, but I'd like both, to be honest. But I was more so calling because you said marijuana and alcohol aren't similar, but they are similar in that you don't have a tolerance to weed, whereas I imagine you have a good tolerance to alcohol. So they're going to affect you differently. So if a 15-year-old took 2 shots of whiskey in front of you, they'd be smashed in an hour. Whereas if you took 1 hit or 2 hits of some high quality marijuana, you'd be smashed. So there's a similarity there.
But here's what I would say to you, sir. Here's what I would say. Okay. Alcohol, you could have a shot, you could have a drink, you could have a beverage. There's a very gradual effect. This was a situation way back when where it's like we're supposed to be doing this and then getting in the car and going to the movie. and I'm just riding along in the car, and the yellow line in the middle of the road is wavy. It looks like a funhouse smear. Bro, like, you
What-
can't tell me that's not worse than alcohol. You know, in alcohol,
Well-
you know I can have one drink or I can have two drinks. I can't have two puffs of that without the lines moving.
That's purely because you are ignorant to the
Ignorance?
I don't mean ignorant in a negative way. I mean it in the literal definition to the effects of marijuana. You said that was the first time you'd done marijuana, and I remember my first time. 2 hits was a lot, and it's the same thing with alcohol. I mean, the first glass of wine I had, a full glass, I was about 14 or 15. And I was intoxicated at the end of that glass of wine. And at the end of the glass of wine took less than, 10, 15 minutes.
But can I say this to you, Texter? Can I say this to you? You would agree, right, that a wavy line for a yellow line, that's a hallucination, okay? The line isn't really wavy. With alcohol, you might feel off balance, but nothing visually looks like a funhouse smear, okay? I didn't realize that ganja had hallucinogenic effects. I didn't know that was a possibility.
It does have a mild hallucinogenic effect. That is a fact. But the last thing before I go is it's highly illegal to smoke weed and drive. Just so everyone knows, don't do that.
Well, absolutely. Hey, I appreciate the call, man. Thank you very, very much.
And
Okay.
he did make a good point there, Mark, is your reaction to the substance that you imbibe is relative to your tolerance to that substance. So he's saying that you, as a 44-year-old man,
Okay.
have been imbibing alcohol for a long time.
Correct.
You can predict and you can understand the effects of alcohol. You know that once you get to drink number 3, number 4, you start losing your control over your balance. You start losing slight control over your faculties. And perhaps it's because you are not used to smoking that you're not able to predict and counteract the instant effects of the marijuana that you feel. And you also, obviously, I don't think you know this for sure, but you also suggested that maybe there was something in that marijuana that you didn't expect to be in there. So then you're not blaming the marijuana. You're blaming the question mark substance that may be in it. I will say this, as somebody who has in the past imbibed in marijuana but doesn't make it a regular thing, stuff's getting way too strong these days. And this guy said he's like high quality marijuana. Like, can we get some low quality stuff? Like I don't need to do like 2 or 3 hits and be in the couch for 5 hours,
yeah.
right? Just give me a little bit elevated. I don't need to be stoned off my ass, okay?
So just to be clear, guys, this was something that happened to me years ago, okay? I no longer do this, all right? After that experience years ago, as a matter of fact, 10 years ago, if I want to be exact, okay, I haven't done it since. And I came to the conclusion that there may have been something else in there because I couldn't believe how strong the response was. I'm like, this does not meet any description that anyone ever told me. If I said to 10 of you guys listening, have you ever tried marijuana? Have you ever had an alcoholic beverage? 10 out of 10 might say yes to the alcoholic beverage. 9 out of 10, maybe 8 out of 10 say yes to they smoked marijuana at one time, right? They tried it at one time. So please be clear, this is not an ongoing current thing, but there was a negative experience way back when. Way back when there was a very negative experience.
Madcraft on YouTube says Mark didn't have a reference point to how to feel. It often increases heart rate, and if you're not in a comfortable situation, such as the first time in public, you can easily panic.
That happened, Madcraft. That happened. That was not fun. I do not want to be in that position again.
Man, reading this text message, it's like you've just upset the Gamecock bottom 10%. You upset marijuana smokers, and now you're getting it.
There you go. Okay.
These texters are all over you.
But let's return to the question at hand here. Okay. Gambling or ganja? Which are you going to legalize? We've got JJ Hardy joining us next here on Offsides. We are the Fan Upstate. It's Mark, Ryan, and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate, joined right now by our good friend, JJ Hardy, Panthers culture. All right, JJ, leap year kind of feels like a day that doesn't really count. You know what I mean? Like, we get to resume our lives again tomorrow, but nothing that happens here today really matters. So I've got a couple of questions for you on that. We are allowing you on this day that doesn't matter to legalize one or the other or neither. You can legalize gambling in the state of South Carolina, ganja in the state of South Carolina, or neither in the state of South Carolina. What are you going to do?
Sorry for the folks back at home listening, but it would have to be ganja.
Why?
I grew up in an era where reefer seemed like it bellowed through the air freely back in the 80s. And, you know, being that I grew up like that and, you know, really saw what I don't consider like really, really ill effects compared to those I knew who were, who participated in drinking a lot of alcohol. I always kind of thought that if you allow people to drink alcohol so freely, then ganja shouldn't be that much of a negative thing to, you know, to participate in. So I don't partake in either, for the record, but ganja is something that I think is very, very, very over criminalized, you know, throughout the country. I know it's being relaxed in a lot of places. I think South Carolina needs to catch up, you know, with the places that are a little bit more liberal when it comes to ganja.
I got you. He has given his answer here. JJ Hardy, as sticking with the leap year theme, because today doesn't really exist, which Carolina Panthers results in your lifetime would you wish to erase from existence?
Is it just the results in terms of a record or a decision?
A moment, which could be a game, which could be a decision, which could be any number of things.
I'm going to say, man, and please just take this for what it is, but I'll have to go with a different owner purchasing the team back in 2018.
I would love to hear you elaborate on that, sir. Jerry Richardson had his own faults, right?
Yes. So we know that, you know, it was a time to move on for Jerry Richardson, you know, for all the things that came out in the news regarding his behavior at the workplace. But when the decision was there to sell the Panthers, I wish a little bit more diligence. If there were more interested parties in purchasing the Panthers, I wish a little more diligence was given to who was purchasing the Panthers, what was their background, what was their affiliation with the Carolinas region, and you know, just truly what their vision was for not only, I think, maintaining the prestige of the franchise, but moving it forward and a little, you know, just getting a little bit more of the authenticity, or trying to get a feel for the authenticity for what both states meant to the new owner. Because I think for all of Jerry Richardson, for all of his flaws, I believe that he was truly intent on having a team that served both states. And you know, and I know he was serious about football and bringing winning football to the Carolinas. And so I wish that when they were making the decision to turn the team over to a new owner, I wish they would have looked more than just somebody who had minority ownership with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and really sought out ownership groups with a little more ties to the Carolinas, and really embodied what it meant to be a Carolina native and one to provide something for our people. So I don't know how you would have determined that, but that's the way I would have approached it.
JJ Hardy, Panthers culture on Twitter. Look him up, throw him a follow. So Dave Canales was hired because he really wanted to work with Bryce Young. But almost every coach in the NFL would tell you that they would love to work with a number 1 overall pick. That's like saying, hey, JJ, Would you like to drive a new Ferrari? Yeah, I really would. So what specifically about how Dave Canales helped develop Baker Mayfield leads you to believe that he could do something similar with Bryce Young? Like, what did he fix about Baker that you're saying that right there is what he can fix about Bryce Young and really turn him around?
Man, that's a good question. And I feel like it was kind of teed up for me because I've been actually thinking about this a lot. And I was just looking at some game footage, from the Buccaneers this past season. And then I was reading some articles about some of the things that Dave Canales did for Baker Mayfield to help him. And one of the things that he did for Baker that I think will benefit Bryce Young tremendously is get his timing better, more consistent, getting the ball out of his hands quicker. One thing that I was frustrated with when I watched Bryce, this past year was that I didn't feel like his feet were urgent enough. And then, once he got set, he wasn't necessarily like ready to throw, or the pocket was collapsing on him and he was having to do something erratic or just take the sack. And Baker had some of those same problems in Carolina last year. And so seeing how far he came from, or how far he went beyond when he was here in Carolina with McAdoo and some of the things they were trying to make him do, looking at the way Bryce struggled this year with Frank Reich's offense and Thomas Brown's offense, and seeing those, what I consider footwork timing issues, rhythm issues, I think Dave Canales did a lot for Baker in terms of getting him on a time schedule, like creating like this internal clock to where you got to be at the top of your drop, by 2.2 seconds, and the ball has to be coming out by 2.5. Like, I think if he can give Bryce that, and I heard him say something similar to that when they did the presser on Tuesday, where they really want to get the rhythm and the timing with Bryce Young, I think, controlled and be second nature, when he's back in the pocket. And I think, him getting to his drop quicker, releasing the ball quicker, I think they're going to create a scheme that's going to allow him to be able to identify the quicker reads. And I always thought that Bryce needed to be in an offense like that, even going back to last year. So I think that's what he's going to do, is just make the game move faster for him, for him when he's processing.
We've got J.J. Hardy joining us here on Offsides, Mark Ryan and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. J.J., can I get your one word or phrase reaction, if you can say it on the air, for what you thought when you heard for the first time that Dave Tepper was raising ticket prices?
Annoyed.
Yeah. Isn't it kind of clueless? It just like, hey man, read the room. Isn't it just kind of like just completely ignorant and negligent of what's actually going on?
I think so. Obviously there are dueling sentiments on Twitter, because everybody becomes a business expert when they want to justify why we have to, raise the ticket prices up 4% or whatever. But, I look at it just from a holistic perspective. We were 2-15. Nobody wanted to attend games. You struggle with home attendance. From home fans, I should say. You don't struggle with attendance because, they're out there selling tickets. But I think you would want to encourage a home crowd. And to me, I'm annoyed because, not just because, it's a bad product that you're raising the price on. I'm annoyed because, like you said, I think he just doesn't read the room. And it's more of the same when it comes to Dave Tepper in regards to the fan and the fan experience. I'm annoyed because it just feels like he's not paying attention to the people that matter. And plus, I'm from upstate South Carolina. There isn't a lot in my hometown of Union besides textile plants, and a lot of them have closed down. They got some stuff, coming into the upstate, especially around Greenville and everything. But, even that extended to the Charlotte area. I just don't think there's people are just overflowing with cash nowadays. Everything costs, right? And I know that some people would say that those costs translate to the ticket cost because everything does cost, including paying for employees or whatever. But I just think that the NFL as a organization, as an entity, it makes money hand over foot, and that those proceeds they flow down to the franchises and the clubs, and these owners are already filthy rich. You don't have to raise ticket prices, especially when you have a team that's the worst in the league. And although we can be optimistic about some of the things they've done, I would hope that you would want to see it on the field before you start paying or start charging fans exorbitant prices to come to the same type of product. I would want to confirm that we actually better now, so maybe going into 2025, let's bump it up, but let's give them some relief because it's hard enough to get them to the stadium as is. So that's just where I'm at. I mean, annoyed because I don't go to all the games. I don't live close enough to go to all the games. But if I was a fan who attended the games and I saw my prices raise up, somebody who attended a lot of game season ticket holders or whatever, I would be a little bit more than annoyed. But for right now, for where I stand in it, I'm just annoyed.
JJ, we had a caller bring us a stat earlier this week in the show. Now, I can't confirm this. Maybe you've heard this yourself. He told us that the Panthers were the #1 most discounted visiting opponent last season, meaning when the Panthers came to town, the home team discounted tickets for the Panthers more than any other team in the NFL. Now, if you can't sell tickets to your home stadium and you're being heavily discounted when you're on the road, it should send a message to ownership, but it clearly doesn't. Do you believe that Panthers fans, or have you heard from Panthers fans who have told you they will not be renewing their PSLs and season tickets next year because of this?
Oh, yeah. There's a tweet where Chris Mad Dog Russo, I captured him yesterday watching, ESPN. I captured him going off on David Tepper about this 4% increase, and he had a lot of things to say about why it shouldn't be a 4% increase. So when I think about, I guess I'm trying to rephrase it. Ask it again. I'm sorry. Just ask the question so I can make sure I answer it correctly.
I was just asking, do you believe that Panthers fans, I guess in high numbers, or have you heard from any Panthers fans who will not be renewing?
I know what I'm going. Yeah. So I tweeted that video out, and a lot of Panthers fans who will follow me, they came under my tweet and they commented how they wouldn't be renewing. This would be the first year for one person. Say it would be the first year in 25 years where I won't renew, or something to that effect. And there were several others who were saying that if they definitely weren't, they were strongly considering not renewing this year because they're just put off by, the 4% increase. So saw more than one. I can't count how many there were, but there were definitely multiple people who responded to my tweet saying that they wouldn't renew.
JJ Hardy joining us here on the show. JJ, when you factor in, like I'm a big Pro Football Focus guy. I don't do a lot of that stuff on the radio because I don't think it makes great radio topics, JJ, but it helps my knowledge base. Brian Burns is an elite pass rusher who's a below average run defender. So at half of the job, he's average to below average at his position. With that being the case, for the price that he's going to cost, is that a good move or a bad move to bring Brian Burns back at his slated price tag?
I hate this discussion, and more so like.
Tell me how you really feel, JJ.
No, I do, because like it's so. It's so. I don't know, like it's annoying, right? It's annoying to continue to talk about the Panthers and Brian Burns, because I feel like this is the third season when you consider the first time someone offered a trade for him was in October of 2022, and we turned down that package. Then we went into 2023 with all the narrative being around, or a lot of the narrative being around, what's going to happen with Brian Burns and an extension, and nothing got done, right? And so now we're going into the third season of the same dilemma with Brian Burns, and it forces you to look at his grades and how he stacks up against the run versus how great he is I won't say great, but how good he is as a pass rusher. And all this mixed into the fact that he's asking for reportedly around $30 million per year. Do I think Brian Burns is a $30 million per year player? No. I've been saying that, from the very beginning. Do I think the Panthers should pay him, somewhere around, anywhere between 24 and 28, I would say? I think they could do that and justify it. But I hate that we're in a position where so many people feel like, oh man, you got to pay Brian Burns. You got to get something for him. I don't want to see another star get away from Carolina without us getting something for him. And all that stuff, right? All that talk. In my mind, you can pay him, and if you pay him, then he's paid, and I'm happy that he's on the team. But I'm tired of fans believing that it has to be, we got to pay Brian Burns. Otherwise, all the other decisions that we made, in 2022 and 2023 to pass up on trade compensation, I think you just got to let that go. It was a mistake. The GM who did that, he's fired. Look at Brian Burns' situation for where we are now as an organization and think to yourself, okay, whatever Brian Burns' contract amount would be, $27 million, $28 million, $29 million, $30 million, whatever that number is, think about all the holes we have on this team and how many of those holes could be filled in free agency if you use that money elsewhere. That's where I'm at with it. And then also, if you franchise him, see if you can trade him still, and get some draft equity back. Use his value. I don't think this team is going to be ready to compete within the next 2 or 3 seasons, like legitimately compete. We might slip up and win the NFC South, but I don't think we're playing with the big dogs. I just don't see how you can feel like 100% comfortable paying over 10% of your salary cap to Brian Burns, considering just a lot of the stuff that we know. I don't think he's that bad of a run defender based on whatever PFF is saying. I do look at PFF as well. I don't think he's that bad. He can defend the run. I don't know if he can do it, for a full 60 minutes or full 4 quarters or whatever, but I just believe that they just need to make a decision, because like the discussion about whether or not we should pay him and all that stuff is just, like I said, it's always going to be a discussion until something is done. I'm just ready for them to either do it or just move on from it.
JJ,
we can move on with our lives.
What will the Panthers cap situation be next year? And in your mind, what would be the smartest way? I think I remember last season, looking ahead into this season, it would be somewhere around $50 million in cap space available. What would be the smartest way to use that money?
Well, I know that the cap space, given where we are today, and a lot of things can change within the next, I would say 4 weeks or so when it comes to free agency and, who we spend and what kind of contracts we give them. But the Panthers look like, they can be in a really healthy cap situation with well over $100 million in cap space going into 2025. I think they just need to be thinking more about, okay, how do we fit some of the needs that we have now? I think they should focus on offense, in terms of getting the right mix of skilled players to build around the quarterback, reinforcing the offensive line. I think you do those things, keep some of your defensive pieces together. I think they should start focusing on Derek Brown and what it's going to take to keep him here. I think they're going to have to start looking at potentially if J.C. Horn has a healthy season this year, what will it take to make him a long-time Panther if they want to make that commitment? I think they need to start making decisions that are 2 and 3 years out and start giving contracts out that gives them flexibility to be able to adjust and go out and in 2 years and be able to go out and swing for the fences when it comes to free agency. Like, build a team now, get the momentum going, get some hype going around Carolina, keep yourself flexible when it comes to salary cap, going into 2025 when it opens up anyway. And then maybe in 2026, be sitting there with a really good team, with a roster that looks good, that's developing. You have your core pieces there, and you can go out there and just spend wildly in 2026 to really build a team around a quarterback who should be in year 4 by then. And that's where you want to be in terms of a winning window. Be healthy, have that momentum going, have a lot of money, and then go out and swing for the fences and get the best players you can possibly get.
There you go. Our good friend J.J. Hardy joining us right here on the show today, as he does many, many Thursdays leading up to the NFL draft. Where are the Carolina Panthers going to go? JJ, I will say we'll talk to you soon, but I know next Thursday is going to come, and I know I'm going to be reaching out to you and asking if you'll come on again. So we hope to talk to you next week, sir. Have yourself a great week, okay?
Oh, Sam, looking forward to it, man. Thank y'all.
Take care. All right. JJ Hardy, Panthers culture, joining us right here on the show this afternoon. And we've got the top 5 at 5 coming your way next here on Offsides. We are the Fan Up. What's good, my friends? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark Ryan and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate, rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. Thrilled to have you guys with us. Could not do it without you. A very special guest joining us next on the show. Very, very special guest. Super excited about it. I'll give you a hint. The guest that's joining us in the next segment is featured on the front page of the Greenville News sports page. And she is joining us next. Super, super, super excited about that. Excited about this as well. We have got for you the top 5 at 5, the top 5 biggest sports stories of the day, the top 5 topics we're discussing, ladies and gentlemen of the Upstate. Offsiders. The top 5 at 5 starts right now.
And now, the top 5 at 5.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hit it.
5.
Okay, at number 5 on the show today. Well, yesterday we revealed our warm seat rankings among primetime Clemson and South Carolina coaches. Okay? And as part of that, I want to ask you, this was a debate that was had off the air. Who's got a warmer seat right now on the South Carolina front? Is it Mark Kingston, baseball coach? Is it Shane Beamer, football coach? Whose seat is warmer? Now, I asked Chris Phillips this question, Gamecock fan, SEC Unfiltered, and Chris said, Mark, I think it's Mark Kingston for the sole purpose being that the expectations for the baseball program are higher. And I said, well, Mark Kingston has achieved more than Beamer has. He said, exactly. But the expectations are higher. If he doesn't make it to the College Baseball World Series this year, he's going to have a real problem. Okay, well, on some level, though, right? Mark Kingston did make it to the final 16 last season. Shane Beamer is in year 4, has never made it to the final 16. Who do you think should have a warmer seat? I agree with Chris. It is Mark Kingston. I just don't particularly think it's overly fair. What say you, Beamer or Kingston? Warmer seats heading into the 2024 seasons. Next up.
4.
All right. As this is Leap Day. Okay. As this is Leap Day, we got a couple of fun sidebar topics for you. Okay. We are allowing you, all right, to have fun on Leap Day and do things we wouldn't normally do. We're asking you, which of these entities would you wish to legalize in the state of South Carolina? Neither is presently legal. Would you choose to legalize gambling or ganja? Okay, gambling or ganja. Both are illegal. Which would you legalize? Diesel says he would legalize ganja. Way back when, I had a not so good experience with that. That caused the yellow line in the middle of the road to look like a funhouse mirror.
How many not so good experiences have you had with alcohol?
Diesel, never like that.
I didn't ask if you've had one like that, because it's two different substances going into your system. How many not so good situations have you had with alcohol?
Diesel.
How many times in college did you get hammered and throw up everywhere and were hungover as hell the next day?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying. But again, Diesel, it's like 3 bad experiences out of 300 with alcohol, right? It's like 1 bad experience out of 2 with ganja. What you just said is like saying, well, 3 stars are better than 5 stars because there's more 3-star Pro Bowlers than 5-star Pro Bowlers. Well, wait a minute. There's a lot more 3-star players in general than 5-star players, right? I'm going gambling, guys. I think responsibly we have to learn for ourselves how to make decisions that are good for us. I don't think it's the law's job to protect us from ourselves. I think it's our own job to protect us from ourselves. Okay? If you go to, no one shames anybody in this country, right? Like we shame people for alcohol. We don't shame people for eating too much fast food. There's a point to be made there, right? Next up.
3.
All right. I thought this was very, very interesting. Dabo Sweeney is saying that Peter Woods, freshman extraordinaire, is going to be making the move to defensive end from defensive tackle. He was a little bit beefy last year. There's some within the program that have said we'd really like to see what Peter Woods could do, what Peter Woods would look like at about between 280 and 290. Well, my friends, you are going to get your wish. All right. And the crazy thing about Peter Woods' production last year, I remember Brian Brzee as a freshman was very, very disruptive in a good way for the Clemson Tigers. Peter Woods was about as unblockable as anyone that I've seen at the collegiate level since Jadeveon Clowney. Okay? Since Jadeveon Clowney. He was about as unblockable. Absolutely blown away at what he did. What about a little bit more muscular Peter Woods? A little bit quicker Peter Woods? A little bit more slimmed down Peter Woods? You are salivating at the prospect of this as a Clemson fan. Are you not? It's right there in front of you. Dabo Sweeney says Peter Woods is most certainly making the move. Next up.
2.
We gave you our preseason SEC Power Poll today. We gave it to you today. Here we go, 16-1. 16 Vanderbilt, 15 Mississippi State, 14 Arkansas, 13 South Carolina, 12 Kentucky, 11 Auburn, 10 Florida, 9 Texas A&M, 8 Missouri, 7 Tennessee, 6 Oklahoma, 5 Texas, 4 Ole Miss, 3 LSU, 2 Alabama, and 1 Georgia. If I am too low on anybody, it is probably Texas. Texas in the NIL era are able to buy everybody, and that's precisely what they're doing. Steve Sarkisian just had his salary doubled. Is it him that's doing all this good, or is it just the bank account in Austin, Texas? If I had somebody too high, it'd probably be LSU. I've got them number 3. I think they're a tick better than everybody else. I think Alabama is largely underrated on a lot of these lists. I think they're going to be much better than people expect. And I think some of these teams, like Missouri, for example, really has a joke of a schedule where Florida is playing the most difficult schedule that the SEC in college football has ever seen. 12 opponents, nine of them are in the top 25. And what sucks about this is you're going to have fan bases running smack that they went 8-4 and you went 6-6. And everybody knows your 6-6 is more impressive. Everybody knows that you're actually a better team, despite the fact that you are 6-6 and they are 8-4. Therein lies the rub. And I will also, share this with you, that guys, being as open and honest as I can possibly be, the final 5 games of Florida's schedule should have never been agreed to. Without a bye week, Florida closes their schedule with Georgia, Texas in Austin, LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State in Tallahassee. Make it make sense. By the way, a P1 listener of the show sent me a DM and, asked to remain anonymous. She says, I haven't smoked much in years, but that did happen to me. What happened to you, Mark, happened to me once when I was 16. It had nothing to do with my tolerance, as it was already high. Legalizing the substance takes it out of the hands of cartels, gangs, and other thugs just looking to increase potency and weight by adding any substance they can. Bill 685 was approved this month by the SC State Senate, which would legalize medical Mary J. in a narrowly focused way. But that's the first step most states take. We'll see how the bill fares in the House.
Texter or the madam who has DM'd Mark Ryan, do you really have faith that Governor Foghorn Leghorn is going to get something like marijuana decriminalized in South Carolina? That's never going to happen. The governor Henry Master, never going to do that.
Guys, I'm not saying you guys know my vote here is for gambling. Okay. In many respects, this state lives, owns, runs, and operates like we're still in the 19th century, not the 21st, not the 20th, like the 19th century.
Very few people have lost their houses over marijuana. A lot of people have lost their houses over gambling.
That's true, Diesel. That's true. I put that responsibility on the person. And finally,
1.
Number 1 on the show today, Leap Day. Diesel and I have been saying this day largely doesn't exist, right? Like every 4 years, you have to work an extra day. When you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. We love what we do here. So this is not in any way, shape, or form working, okay? That said, it does kind of feel like, okay, we press pause on our lives for 24 hours. Lives resume tomorrow at midnight on March the 1st. So as you can get away with anything, we're also letting you erase anything. Any insult you have for Diesel and I today, you've got to get out of jail free card. You are Bill Murray in Groundhog Day when he realized he could do whatever he wants to do. As part of that, we are giving you the freedom to erase from your memory any loss, okay, that you wish never happened. Because today is the day that never happened. If you've got a 32-year-old son or daughter or son that was born on leap year, are they actually 8 years old today? How does that work in your household? A hell of a way to be forever young, right? Diesel is erasing a very painful football loss for Appalachian State. I am erasing my Houston Oilers blowing a 35-3 lead in the playoffs, 1992 to the Buffalo Bills. Still to this day, the biggest blown playoff lead in NFL history. You can wipe it clean because it doesn't count. It's Leap Day. What sports event are you wiping from the record book? Those are today's top 5 at 5. Now it's your chance to chime in, which you can do at 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-FANFONE. That's 844-326-3663 on the Renewal by Anderson fan phone. You can hit us on the text line at 71307. Invite you to follow us on YouTube, which you can do at The Fan Upstate, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. Please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We'd love to have you there at The Fan Upstate. And finally, email. You guys can all email the show. Mark Ryan, that is MARC Ryan at thefanupstate.com. All the different ways you can get in touch with us here on the most interactive sports radio show anywhere. Coming up next, my friends, very, 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 very special guest. Very special guest joining the show. That's on the flip side here on the show that gives you both sides. Right here. We are the Fan Upstate.
Guys, it's been fantastic having you on the stream today. We say the same thing every time because we absolutely mean it. Thank you so much.
We'll see you guys tomorrow, my friends. Take care. Have a good one.